Good morning, everybody, and a happy Monday morning. This is another chock full, really long video. We have an update on the Muslim community that had their funding pulled. We have updates on Harry's court case. There's just so much, too much to cover. So let's just jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off. It was Easter on Sunday, and King Charles and Queen Camilla led the family at the Easter church service at St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. Now, first off, of course, we saw Edward, Sophie, their son James, who, man, is that kid getting tall, along with Eugenie and Jack walking down, and behind them, Beatrice and her fabulous husband, Edo. She actually spoke to the crowd and said, "Good morning. Happy Easter." The rest of the family didn't really say a whole lot of anything. I didn't see Prince Anne walk up, but she was there speaking to the Dean of Windsor, Christopher Coxworth. Now, the next thing that happened was a little surprising, but okay in my book. Prince Andrew showed up. So the car pulls up, and Sarah Ferguson got out on the left side. And everybody was like, well, if Sarah's there, then obviously Andrew must be there, but I didn't see him. But after the car pulled off, you see Andrew talking to the Dean of Windsor. And then he did what I consider to be the smart thing, and he made a beeline for the church, and he went inside. Everybody else stayed out to wait for King Charles and Queen Camilla, but Andrew literally made a beeline and went inside. Now, for those of you that are going to say he's such a horrible person, if he really is that bad, isn't church where he needs to be? Just saying. All right. So everybody was standing outside waiting for Charles and Camilla. I really liked Eugenie's outfit. I thought she looked really smart. And this outfit on Anne I've seen before. I just couldn't place it. Just as a reminder, it was last year where Charles and Camilla attended the service right after it was announced that he'd been diagnosed with cancer, and he sat apart from everybody else to minimize the risk of infection because he was already doing his treatments, and he also skipped the private family lunch that's usually held after the Mass. But he did do the walkabout afterwards where he greeted members of the public, just, as an FYI to remind you. So anyway, they're all standing outside waiting for Charles and Camilla, and then here comes the car. The two of them got out, they turned around, they waved, and then they literally headed straight into the chapel afterwards. Also, just as an FYI, remember that William and Catherine decided not to attend services this year because they want to spend the weekend with the kids before the kids return to school on Monday. And last year they missed Easter service because Catherine had been diagnosed with cancer and was undergoing her cancer treatments. Anyway, Charles and Camilla were applauded by the crowds. He greeted the well-wishers. They urged him to keep going strong, to which he waved and said, "I'm trying," and then into the church they went for the service. The service did not take that long, and it wasn't long before the pictures were then taken of the family leaving. Now, we know that after this, they go to a family luncheon, and then for the little kids, usually there's an Easter egg hunt. I also couldn't help but notice that Lady Louise was not there today as well, but okay. Looks like the king is doing well. And the reason I'm saying that is because they actually did, before they left, they actually came out of the church and walked up to the well-wishers. The two of them shook a lot of hands. Camilla was then handed some sort of I think it was a gift, because she looked up and she said, "Thank you so much." And then they turned around and went back inside. And as usual, a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for finding all of the outfits that Sophie was wearing, Eugenie was wearing, and Beatrice was wearing. I'm sure there's more that's come out, but yeah. All right, let's move on now to our Harry Meghan stuff. All right, next up, I want to thank my friend Donna Wood for sending me this information. Apparently, Ted Sarandos is getting a pay raise up to $60 million a year. Frankly, I think anybody who signs a contract with Harry and Meghan for $100 million and gets what they got, I think should not be making that kind of money. Well, it looks like Harry's keeping busy because it came out that Her Majesty Queen Masenet Mohato Siso is joined by Harry, the Duke of Sussex, in partnership with the government of Lesotho and the United Nations, and they're going to have a presentation on key issues including gender-based violence, child protection, mental wellness, HIV, AIDS, nutrition, and food security. So I guess since he hasn't bothered with Sentebale for 6 years and it's out of his life, he has to come up with something else. All right, let's move on to one I consider to be one of our two big stories for today. It's come out from a new court document that the reason Harry is asking for better police protection is because Al-Qaeda threatened him. Why did Al-Qaeda threaten him? Al-Qaeda threatened him because Harry wrote in the spare his kill count and said that killing these people was like knocking pieces off a chessboard. Now, while Harry is not the brightest bulb in the pack, he obviously knew better than to put something like that in writing, which is why I'm beginning to think that he did it intentionally. Now, we know that Harry's attorney, Miss Fatima, went into court and said that the royal was called to be murdered once his security was downgraded, and that the assassination would, quote, please the Muslim community. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I think it occurred after the spare came out. Now, the attorney went on to say, don't forget the human dimension of the case. There is a person sitting behind me whose safety, whose security, whose life is at stake. There is a person sitting behind me who's been told that he's getting a special bespoke process when he knows in his experience it is a process that is manifestly inferior in every sense. And his presence here and throughout this appeal is a demonstration of how much this appeal means to him and his family. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble feeling sorry for a man that got 20 million from writing the spare, about 40 to 50 million from Netflix, 1 to 2 million from Spotify, and they're bringing in we don't know how much from Lemonada. The man can afford his own security, not to mention how much he got from the Queen. And of course, when he turned, I believe it was 40, he got the rest of his inheritance from his mother. He's got millions upon millions and upon millions. Pay for your own security. This is something Harry should have thought about before he stepped back. He was told if he left, he would not get the protection, but I think he thought his grandmother was lying. So now we're getting these kinds of stories. Oh, Harry fears that his children are missing out on the great royal Easter tradition of hunting for eggs. He can't bring them back to the UK. It's not safe. It's not secure. You know, the funny thing is, this is when the royal family walks to St. George's Chapel. They have the walkabout, they have lunch, and then the kids get together at Windsor and hunt for Easter eggs. And in the meantime, this is the same man that when he's in the UK and he's been offered to stay at palaces, he's decided to stay in hotels without police protection. Obviously, you're safer if you stay at one of the palaces. Keep in mind, Harry's been back to the UK multiple times and nothing's happened to him. But according to Harry, he went to a Well Child charity event a few years ago without the police, and press photographers were there, and he wanted the armed police officers to deter the journalists. That's it. Because he's paranoid. Now, before we continue with our Harry Meghan stuff, you should know that Donald Trump has confirmed that in September, he will be going to the UK to meet his friend, King Charles. He said it's a great honor to receive the invitation. All right. For those of you who haven't seen it, Megyn Kelly did a whole spoof video on With Love Meghan. It's so funny. She spoofed the popcorn scene. I love to elevate a guest's visit, microwave popcorn. Only the lazy people do this. They also showed moving snacks from one bag to another. Now, Megyn Kelly says that her channel is your home for open, honest, and provocative conversations with the most interesting and important political, legal, and cultural figures today. So, yeah, they discussed it. It was hilarious. All right, next up, I just wanted to touch on this. Apparently, homeowners near Harry and Meghan are complaining about people that are in the area. Apparently, there's a very remote road walking trail, and a lot of people like to go there. It's called the Hot Springs Trail, and people said they had to park so far away it would have been a hike to get to the hike. Homeowners even try to block drivers from parking in the area by putting bushes and boulders that then need to be removed by authorities. And last year, it's being reported a group of residents tried to hire a demolition crew. All right, I just wanted to touch on this. We know that the As Ever is not going well, and the Confessions of a Female Founder is just a big flop. And apparently the reviews are really not good by the critics. And so a source close to Harry says that the barrage of criticism serves only to intensify his loyalty to Meghan. It's horrible for him to know that people don't like his wife because he adores her. Well, you know what? Marry in haste, repent in leisure. The truth is, everything Meghan does is overpromised and underdelivered. All right, another small story I want to touch on. It's being reported that Meghan Markle tried to get Reese Witherspoon on archetypes, and Reese Witherspoon declined because she likes Catherine, and she didn't want to do anything to jeopardize her social clout that she has with Catherine in the future. All right, next up, the podcast. What people are saying is that Meghan has a real problem because while all of her projects debut to really impressive numbers, mostly due in part to media attention and coverage, they don't have staying power. Markle's podcast from Lemonada, Confessions of a Female Founder, we know made it up to number 2 on the Apple Podcast charts within a day, but within a week, it fell to number 19. So what people are saying is Meghan has a real problem because America isn't buying into her brand. And people in the UK don't like her either. So she's just got problems all the way across the board. The question is, are people listening to it because they love it or because they hate it? She's had 2 guests on so far. One is the American lawyer attorney whose name I can't pronounce, and one is Bumble founder Whitney Wolfe Herd. And Meghan has done the usual stuff. She talks about Meghan. It's my kids have RSV. It's so hard. I had a miscarriage. I had hypertension after birth. You get it. All right, I touched on this before, but I'm going to touch on it again. They're saying that Prince William may be taking the crown sooner than expected. And according to an insider, it's no secret that William wants Harry more harshly dealt with. He thinks he's betrayed the family from top to bottom, which he basically has. We'll have to wait till he becomes king. All right, you guys. Woo! Tom Bauer did the book Revenge, and Harry and Meghan did not sue him because you can't sue when something is true. Well, the royal author has now claimed that Harry and Meghan are facing constant battles in their lives that push them to seek revenge, and that their relationship is at a crisis point after they turn their lives on the royal family and moved to California. So he's come out and said, listen, I've got a lot of new material. I think the whole world wants new insights. It's an amazing story. It's eye-watering, unique story because it's unprecedented. They're fighting for themselves all the time. They're relentless. They're restless. And that's what makes it so interesting. So basically, he's writing another book. And I think it's all going to talk about Sentebale. Everything's going to be in there. All right, we're going to go back to something that we discussed the other day, but let's go back. We know that Archwell donated to a Milwaukee Muslim Women's Coalition since 2023, but they cut the funding about a week and a half ago after discovering that the charities had branded Israel an apartheid state in a blog last year. Her name is Janine Najib, and she has now said that she's deeply disappointed by the decision to cut the funding, and that comments directed at her by Harry and Meghan's charity reps were defamatory. Archwell emailed this woman and said, we were notified of your online opinion piece, and as a foundation, we celebrate different perspectives and backgrounds, but we have zero tolerance for hateful words, actions, or propagandas. And when we started the Welcome Project, which interjects in here, they did not start it, they donated to it. We did so to support Afghan women in finding community, and we're proud of our work, blah, blah, blah. But we're removing our funding as of today. The foundation will be making no further grants. Let us know if you have any questions. So it was after that the woman responded to them on the official Instagram page for the Milwaukee Muslim Women's Coalition. I've showed you the letter before. You can freeze the screen and read it for yourself. At the end of the letter, she asked for a public apology. Now, I don't know what this woman's expecting. She's not going to get a public apology. This woman went on to say that she received a call from a different Archwell employee days before the email asking about the article. She said it was a tabloid-style journalist who contacted them and was threatening to write an article that was disparaging. And she said these bullying tactics are meant to silence people. With all of this going on, Archwell eventually had to put out a statement. And what they said is, we show up, do good, and our values are an extension of those of Harry and Meghan. And that their support extends to individuals and organizations of all walks of life, But what they said is, we do not tolerate any form of hate speech, including hate-fueled symbols, language, or imagery. And I think that has something to do with this picture that was put up during the op-ed. What I don't understand, and I still don't understand, is how they're pulling their funding. Well, I can see the picture above. They put a swastika in the middle of a Star of David. But yet, they have yet to speak out on the hate speech from their own fan base. That's a little hypocritical. And this all ended with, according to this woman, the program has now received thousands of dollars in donations from supporters, and a third party started a Launch Good campaign. And within 24 hours, they surpassed an entire year's worth of foundation money. In other words, Archwell, they're saying they don't need you. Pointed out by Nancy Sidley, and she's absolutely correct. It didn't take long. Just like Dr. Chanduka, the Sussex squad is out in force. They are throwing this Muslim woman under the bus. And then it kind of took a switch because, as I told you before, that matter of fact girl put up some stuff, and the Sussex squad now are eating each other up. They don't like what she said. They don't like what other people have said. They've made all kinds of crazy accusations. She misappropriated funds. She did this. She did that. It's getting ugly in there, man. Let me tell you, these people are eating themselves. Royally Sage pointed out on Twitter that Harry and Meghan only use the charities for good PR. And now that's coming back to bite them in the ass. That's what happens. Even, if you can believe this, and I have no trouble believing this, Meeson Harriman dropped a cryptic post that I think is aimed at Harry and Meghan and their decision to cut the funding. Now, I'm going to leave these here for you guys to shut down and read on your own, but I think it's hilarious to watch the Sussex squad eating itself because they're turning on each other because one person now is pro Harry Meghan and other people are now anti. And finally, I want to touch on this. You see where it says going broke? Let me remind you, they got $2 million from Spotify, $40 million from Netflix, $20 million from The Spare, $1 million from The Bench. We don't know how much from Oprah. I think $5 million. So that puts them at $68 million, but they're at a 37% tax bracket, which means they only got to keep $43 million. And keep in mind their expenses. First of all, they bought this huge house that has to be heated and cooled. They have a pool that needs to be heated and cooled. They have grounds that need to be tended to. They have a maid to clean it and a cook. We know that they're paying for the private jets. Now, while some people may loan them their jets, I'm pretty sure they have to pay for some of it, not to mention the private security that's costing them $3 to $4 million a year. And the designer clothing that Meghan wants. So yes, with their lifestyle, I truly do believe, they're going broke. Woo! Leave those comments, make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then you're going to go down into the description box where you'll find the links to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my father's book that's still up for sale, a link to my second channel, and a link to my Amazon wish list, along with a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.